The Royal Star Cruiser drifted through the quiet stretch of the Dathan route, its polished silver hull reflecting the slow swirl of nebula colors that stretched like watercolor across the void. The vessel belonged to the Lumerian kingdom, known across star systems for grace, discipline, and a culture where every movement was measured. At the center of this world of order stood Princess Lyra, a symbol of calm dignity among her people. Her voice was gentle, her choices precise, and her manners steady even during diplomatic storms. No one in the kingdom had ever seen her lose composure. That was about to change. The cruiser had been assigned a temporary escort while traveling through contested space, and that escort was a single human fighter ship. Lyra had heard of humans from other diplomatic circles. Bold, reckless, too direct. Loud in spirit. Wild in nature. They were admired for courage, but whispered about for unpredictability. Lyra never concerned herself with such talk. She believed all life carried value and purpose. She believed every species deserved respect. What she did not expect was that respect would turn into something else. The human assigned to her vessel was a fighter pilot named Dane, a man whose reputation traveled ahead of him in countless stories of impossible rescues and daring battles. Lyra expected an unruly soldier with rough manners, someone she would tolerate for the sake of safety. Instead, when he arrived on the cruiser to receive instructions for the escort route, she saw a figure who moved with controlled confidence, a kind of grounded steadiness she never imagined a human would possess. When he stepped onto the observation deck where she waited, his boots made a soft thud that echoed just enough to draw her eye. He offered a crisp nod and stood straight. His presence felt too solid for a deck that usually felt suspended in calm light. Lyra maintained her serene expression. She always did. Yet something strange stirred inside her, a flicker she could not name. Dane saluted lightly. "Princess, here for escort duty. I will ensure your route remains secure." His tone was not arrogant or casual. It was respectful, simple, steady. Lyra answered with her usual calm. "Your assistance is appreciated. We expect no conflict, but precaution is wise." Dane glanced at the transparent hull arching above them, where stars passed like drifting sand. "With respect, Princess, trouble never sends a message before arriving." His words were simple, but she felt an unusual warmth rise in her chest. Not panic. Something softer. Something unfamiliar. She pushed it down, keeping her posture unbroken. The first day of the journey was quiet. Lyra handled protocol reviews, diplomatic messages, and cultural reports. Dane remained close to his fighter, but occasionally stepped onto the cruiser to coordinate updates with the officers. Lyra found herself noticing him each time he appeared. His movements were efficient, his reactions quick, yet he carried a gentleness she had not expected. During an evening cycle, she walked along the outer viewing hallway to clear her thoughts. When she turned a corner, she found Dane standing there, adjusting his wrist device. For a moment, their eyes met through the soft blue glow of the corridor panels. He stepped aside. "Princess, did not expect you here. Sorry if I am in the way." "You are not. This is a public corridor." He nodded, but something about the way he looked at her made her feel seen differently than the others on the ship ever saw her. As if he was not looking at the royal figure or the calm symbol, but at the person behind the title. That startled her more than she showed. She walked past him, maintaining perfect composure, but she could feel her pulse speed up. Her steps grew slightly quicker. It was absurd for a royal princess who had mastered control since childhood. She took a deep breath, grounding herself. The next morning brought the first sign of danger. A faint signal pulsed across the scanners. Unknown origin. Unknown intent. The officers reviewed it with straight faces, but Dane's brow tightened the moment he saw the live feed. That is a scout signal. Someone is checking distances. Someone is planning something. The crew listened with worry, but Lyra remained steady. She would not show fear before her people. "We will adjust course," she said. "No confrontation unless necessary." Dane agreed, but his eyes held a seriousness that unsettled her. By mid-cycle, the signal grew stronger. The shape of a shadowed ship appeared on the far edge of tracking range. Lyra stood beside the control table, calm as always, even as tension spread through the bridge. Dane activated his comlink. "I will launch. Stay in defensive formation behind me." Lyra spoke firmly. "Pilot Dane, do not engage unless you must. Our purpose is peaceful travel." His reply was quiet. "I know, but I also know how to read an ambush." Her throat tightened at his tone, not because she doubted him, but because she felt the first real fear, not for herself or her ship, but for him. His fighter shot into space, leading a streak of silver across darkness. Lyra watched through the panoramic glass, hands clasped behind her back. Her face showed perfect calm. Inside, her thoughts were anything but calm. She found herself whispering, "Be safe." The hostile vessel moved faster than expected. A thin beam of charged energy cut across the edge of Dane's flight arc. He rolled sharply, avoiding it with expert timing. Even the officers gasped, but Lyra remained still. Her control held, though her heart felt as if it tried to break through her ribs. Dane's voice came through the com. "They warned us. This is no random scout. They want to test our strength." Lyra stepped forward. "Do not risk your life. Return to formation. With respect, Princess, if I pull back now, they will advance." She hated that he was right. She hated the sensation growing in her chest more. The enemy ship fired again. Dane weaved through the shots with an ease that made even seasoned soldiers stare in disbelief. His fighter looped, twisted, and slipped between beams with the grace of a dancer. It should have been inspiring, but to Lyra it was terrifying. Each time he dodged, she felt air slip from her chest. Each time he accelerated, her pulse jumped. This was not how a Lumerian princess behaved. Her people valued composure above everything. She knew this. She lived it. Yet watching that human fight with fearless skill, she felt her composure cracking. Then the enemy ship released a wider blast. Dane cut sharply left, but the edge of the beam clipped the side of his fighter. Sparks burst. The ship spun. Lyra did something she had never done in her life. She shouted, "Dane!" The officers froze, shocked that their calm princess had raised her voice. Lyra herself felt heat rise along her cheeks, but she ignored it. Her eyes stayed locked on the spinning craft in the distance. Dane's breathing came through the com, steady but strained. "I am all right, stabilizing." He forced the fighter level again, pushing the damaged thruster into manual control. His voice remained calm, but Lyra could hear faint tension behind it. He spoke again. "I can still hold them off. Do not worry, Princess." Too late. She was already worrying more than she ever intended. Another blast came. Dane used the fighter's last clean thruster to rise above the enemy ship and release a counterpulse that disrupted their aim. It was enough to force them back. They retreated into the shadow of the nebula, their signal fading. The moment the path cleared, Lyra exhaled with visible relief. Her shoulders lowered by a fraction, something her advisors had never seen happen in public. She hardly noticed. When Dane returned to the cruiser, his fighter smoking on one side, Lyra was already on the hangar deck. She should not have been there. Protocol required her to remain in the secure royal chamber. Yet she stood by the landing rail, waiting. The hangar crew rushed to assist Dane as he stepped out of the cockpit. His uniform was lightly scorched along the sleeve. His expression remained calm, but fatigue showed in his eyes. Lyra moved before she could stop herself. "Are you hurt?" Her voice carried more emotion than she meant. Dane blinked, surprised to see her. "Princess, I am fine. The damage is mostly to the ship." She stepped closer, inspecting him with a seriousness usually reserved for state matters. "You could have been lost out there." Dane gave a small smile. "It was my duty." Her chest tightened again. This time she did not hide it well. A faint warmth rose along her neck, and she looked away for a moment, hoping the crew did not see. He noticed. "You are upset." She drew in a breath. "I am relieved." The word came out softer than she intended. Softer than a princess should speak to a soldier. Dane's expression shifted, the stern fighter replaced by a man caught off guard. He lowered his head slightly. "I did not mean to cause you concern." She shook her head. "You did what you believed was necessary. That is honorable." There was a long pause between them, a silence heavier than any diplomatic exchange she had ever held. Something unspoken hung in the air, something she did not know how to name. She felt flustered for the first time in her life. She turned sharply, regaining posture. "I will return to the bridge. Rest and recover. That is an order." Dane straightened. "Yes, Princess." She walked away, her steps steady but faster than she intended. Her pulse would not settle. Her face felt warm. Her thoughts tangled in ways that made no sense to her. A calm princess did not react like this. A calm princess did not let a human warrior shake her composure. Yet Dane had. Later, in her private chamber, she sat by the soft glow of the star lamps and tried to regain the clarity she was known for. She reviewed diplomatic schedules. She reviewed course plans. Nothing steady.